So the first part of the daf, the way, way, way easier part of the daf, discussed whether or not a summa is allowed to shecht. And the truth is, it's a mefurusha mishnah. Hashaychit balayla v'chein hasumma sheshachat shchitas ksher. The mishnah is mavur that a summa is kosher l'shchita, albeit b'di'ev. Not surprisingly, this stam mishnah that has no one that argues with it in the Gemara is brought down in Shulchan Aruch. The Mechaber in Yerudeya, Siman Aleph Sif Tes says, Summa lo yishchot lechatchila, elim kein acherim royen oisnai, ve'im shachat shchitasai kshera. So this halacha psuka of the Mishnah in Chulin Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis is also a halacha psuka in Shulchan Aruch, in Yerudeya, Hilchas Shchita, Siman Aleph Siftes. Reb Kiva Eiger, in his Agoyas on this halacha, asks a Kushya Mefursamas. Kiva Eiger says, we know there's a Shita in Shas, it's the Shita of Reb Yehuda, ironically, who holds that a Summa is Potem in HaMitzvahs. Great Reb Kiva Eiger, the Beis Yosef in the North says that we're Chayesh, L'shitas Reb Yehuda lahalacha. It's based on a Rabbeinu Yeruchim who says that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, and the Beis Yosef says that even though we don't paskin like Rabbeinu Yeruchim, and of course assume as chayv and mitzvahs, but at the same time michash miyabayi, and it's for that reason in areas of halacha we're always chayish for the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda that holds that assume as patim and mitzvahs. If that's the case, for Reb Kiva Eiger, how could the mechaber paskin? How could the Beis Yosef say that a summa, albeit b'di'evet, albeit if acher maroy and oisai, is a ladder shech? To the extent that we have to be chayish to the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda that assumes potem in mitzvahs, if he's potem in mitzvahs, it means he's not a bar zvicha. And if he's not a bar zvicha, then hodar dina, he's like an oivik kechavim, and an oivik kechavim, that was the Mishnah in yesterday's daf, shchitas oivik kechavim is nevela. So if that's the case, how could the Shulchan Aruch say that assumes a ladder shech? L'chayra, l'shitas Rabbi Yehuda that assumes potem in mitzvahs, asuma doesn't need shchita. If he doesn't need shchita, he's mamish like an oivik kechavim. If he's like an oivik kechavim, that means he's not a bar zvicha. If he's not a bar zvicha, so that means he's not allowed to shecht, and his shchita should be shchitas nevela. Azoy fragt Reb Kiva Eiger, akushi atzum, says Reb Kiva Eiger, it's muchach from here. Or you saw that Achreim talk about in different places, and that is that even Rabbi Yehuda that holds that assumes patim and mitzvahs, it's only from mitzvahs aseh. It's not from mitzvahs lois aseh. And if you hold that asuma is really chayiv and mitzvahs lois aseh, so it comes out he has the lav of nevela. He might not have the aseh of shchita, and we can clear if he has the lav abba michlal aseh of shchita, but the lois aseh of nevela that he certainly has. I being that he has the lav of nevela, Zok Reb Kiva Eiger, he's a bar zvicha. If he's a bar zvicha, it's for that reason. And Zok Reb Kiva Eiger, this is a raya she'eno of tshuva lanias daiti to the shittas that hold that even Rabbi Yehuda that holds that sumas patim and mitzvahs, it just means that a sumas patim from mitzvahs aseh, but avada he's going to be chayiv in mitzvahs leis aseh. This Reb Kiva Eiger is a mefursim Reb Kiva Eiger. Last machzor we had 2 raid bites on this Reb Kiva Eiger. I was thinking about Reb Kiva Eiger yesterday. It mamish bothered me. I mamish don't understand Reb Kiva Eiger. I mamish don't understand it. Hashem Yoreina. Reb Kiva Eiger had a halach in Shulchan Aruch that says a summa is allowed to shecht. Reb Kiva Eiger, according to Rabbi Yehuda, a summa is not a bar zvicha. And if a summa is not a bar zvicha, so why is a summa allowed to shecht? Why is a cher shayt v'katan allowed to shecht? A cher shayt v'katan are also patim and mitzvahs because they're not b'nei zvicha. Rabbi Yehuda's summa patim and mitzvahs is more than a cheresh shoyt v'katan than a not patim and mitzvahs, and a filu hachi, a cheresh shoyt v'katan are allowed to shech. Now why? That's the Chuvas Noid of Yehuda. That's the shach in Siman Aleph. Kama kumas in ishtabru to be miyashiv. Why a cheresh shoyt v'katan are allowed to shech? And why don't we say that a cheresh shoyt v'katan are considered to be not b'nei zvicha? So if that's the case, vos out Reb Kiva Eiger would assume. Kiva Eiger has a chap. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Sumas patim and mitzvahs. So why is the Summa allowed to shecht? He's not a bar zvicha. That's mamish tonight Rabbi Yehuda's kasha in the first tshuva in Madur Tinyana. That's the shach in Yerudeya. Hilchas Shchita, Siman Aleph, Sif Chav Zayin. This is what the Tvur Shor discusses in Siman Aleph in Sifkat Memtes. What the Prima Gadim discusses in his Psicha Kaileles and Chelik Beis Sifkat and Gil. All the G'dai Lechreinim discuss this famous shayla. So vos did Reb Kiva Eiger find in the halacha of Summa that all of a sudden that the Gehata Greisa Knech? Lamaisa, Chipasti, Umatzasi. It's a sefer, it's called Shchitas Chulin. It was written by Rabbi Summer Garbus, Shlita, the great guy in the Bnei Brak. And on this Mishnah, Hashaychit Balayla V'chein Asuma Sheshacha Shchitasik Sheira. This is what he says. B'chedush Reb Kiva Eger, Kosav Lo Yichiach Mikan. The Afle Rabbi Yehuda disfirulei the Summa Patim and Mitzvahs Mikol Mokem Yesh Lo Yisurim the Ilav Hachi Amay Shchitasek Sheira Halav Bar Zvichahu Adkan V'lo Zochisi Lahavin Kush Yasai the Ma Huk Shel Agoyin Rabbi Kiveger Misuma Tvei Micheres Shaita the Shchitasek Sheira Afal Gavta Lo Musarin and then he fears Ois V'doik. So I don't know what V'doik means, but Zokta V'lo Zochisi Lahavin Kush Yasai Baruch Shekivanti. But I thought about it. I think the Kash L'Tois. You have to be Yashav such Rabbi Kiveger. This is a Reb Kiva Eger that's mitzvah liyashiv. I think it's Pashat Mamash, what Reb Kiva Eger means. And that is, why is it that a cheresh shayt v'katan are considered to be a bar zvicha? I cheresh shayt v'katan are patim and mitzvahs. So we spoke yesterday from the Noda B'Yehuda, that the Noda B'Yehuda said that the reason is, because in as much as a cheresh shayt v'katan are patim and mitzvahs, and that's why you find a katan is even not considered a bar kshira in the world of Stam, Erechaim, Simon, Lametes, but at the same time, there's a lav of lois achilam. And because there's a lav of lois achilam, so it's for that reason, he's considered to be in the parsha of zvicha, because even though he himself, the cheresh and the shayt and the katan, are not muzer kishala atzman to not be able to go ahead and eat nevela, but at the same time, gedolim are muzer to make sure that the ktanim are going to eat. And by the way, we didn't speak this out yesterday, but that's pashut, it's mavur from the Noda B'Yehuda, that this halach of leis achilim is not only true for a katan, right? Even though it's always lahazer gedolim al ktanim. You see, it's true for a cheresh and it's true for a shaita as well. And the reason is because if it's only true for a katan, then the Noda B'Yehuda only answered a third of the kasha, right? The kasha is all cheresh, shaitas, and katans are kasha to shchech, albeit if you check off all the right boxes. What do you mean? They're not b'nei zvicha. The terrace is leis achilim. One second, that's all good lahazer gedolim al ktanim. But what's going to be with a cheresh and a shaita? It's muchach mefurish in the Noda B'Yehuda that this is the way it is. And the emes is, we spoke out years ago, an epic tshuva from the Hilchos Sofer, and this is in Erechaim Simpei Gimel. It's one of the tshuvas hamefursamas where there was a shaita and there was an eitzah maybe for this shaita to have a refuah by sending him to some rehab facility. The problem is they were going to serve him non-kosher meat, and the Chassam Sofer wrote a whole tshuva whether it's okay, it's not okay. It's a nifli diga tshuva. And Toich Dvorav, he says one thing, bevadai kol she'anu muzarim al ktani b'nei Yisrael, anu muzarim nami al cheresh shayta v'katan. Dekrod lois achilum lahazer hamitzuvim al she'ena mitzuvim yeh katan or yeh shayta. It's a mefurish Chassam Sofer. And the emes is, I looked around a little bit, I found that the Beis Yosef in the end of Yeridei Simon Kufnan Zayin brings it mefurish b'shem Rabbeinu Yeruchim. It comes from the Rishonim, but it's muchach. It jumped off the Noda B'Yehuda yesterday. But the bottom line is, so that's pashit, that there's a lav of lois achilim when it comes to a cheresh shayta v'katan, and the Noda B'Yehuda said that's the beer. Why we view a cheresh shayta v'katan as being bar zvicha. And we mentioned yesterday that really this Noda B'Yehuda is a shach. And even though the shach's a little bit sosum, but in Siman Aleph of Katan Chav Zayin, the shach seems to be saying what the Noda B'Yehuda is saying. And if you take a look at the Pri Megadim, who is a contemporary of the Noda B'Yehuda, the Pri Megadim says mefurish was the shach hat gemeint is was the Noda B'Yehuda. I mean, he doesn't quote the Noda B'Yehuda, but he says this far. It's because of Yevamas Kuf Yodalad. It's based on the lav of lois achilim. So the yisoid of why a cheresh shayta v'katan are considered bar zvicha, it's because of the fact that there's a lav of lois achilim. So here's the shaila. Does a shaita have loisach? Does a summa the Rabbi Yehuda have loisachilim? So my muskar rishon, shady and shlishi was of course. Why wouldn't he have loisachilim? But I think it's a tois gadol. I think it's a tois atzam. You know why? What's the whole yisoid of loisachilim? The yisoid of loisachilim is there's a cheresh shayta v'katan. We would love for a cheresh shayta v'katan to be chayiv mitzvahs. Narvas, we're partnering him. Why are we partnering? Because he doesn't have das. A cheresh shayta v'katan don't have the das to be nizer in Taryag mitzvahs. And because they don't have the das to be nizer in Taryag mitzvahs, it's for that reason the Torah exempted them from Taryag mitzvahs. Stating that, there's a musik of Lois Achilim. And Lois Achilim says, Lahazer Agdoilam Alaktanim. With the Katan and the Noda B'Yehuda Chassam Sofer say, the Cheresh and Shaita as well, where they don't have das to be nizer by themselves, so we have a responsibility and we have an obligation to go ahead and be responsible for them. Lahazer Agdoilam Alaktanim. We wish they would keep Taryag mitzvahs. None of us, they don't know how to. So there's an Indian of lois achilim. Now, why is it only true for lois aseis and not aseis? We said over for Rabbi Chanan and Kavitzaris, he says, Sorachim, Shamati lechalik ben asei v'lois asei. I'm not really sure what the chilik is. By the way, what we didn't mention yesterday is the Trumas Hadeshin says a very simple pshat. He says that when a person does a lois asei, there's a chash. Now, when you get older, you'll continue to do the lois aseis. By an asei, there's no, based on Lashon HaGemara and Shabbos, Gzeir Shema Yisrach. By a lois asei, there's a chash Shema Yisrach. By an asei, there's not. We spoke out, maybe it's related to the Gemara Yuma Lamed Tes, the machshava of Mesach. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is the whole yisoid of lois achilim is we have a chereshoit of a katan that are fartige yidden. We want them very much to be able to keep Torah mitzvahs. Narvas, they're not pekoyach. They don't have the ability to do so. So therefore, lois achilim lahazar gdolim alaktanim. A summa afilu aliba de Rabbi Yehuda has das. He could take care of himself. He doesn't have to take care of him. He could take care of himself. And afilu hachi, Rabbi Yehuda has a shita that assumes patim and mitzvahs. So if Rabbi Yehuda has a shita that assumes patim and mitzvahs, despite the fact that he could take care of himself, what does that mean? It means he's patim and mitzvahs. So what are you going to tell me? There's a lois achilim lahazak dolim. It doesn't even make any sense. You can't even say it. Why would there be a lois achilim? Someone that we be'etzim want should keep Torah mitzvahs. None of us, he can't be nizer in Torah mitzvahs. So there's an Indian of lois achilim lahazak dolim alaktanim. A summa could take care of himself with Torah mitzvahs, but the Torah said afilu hachi, you're potter. What? So I'm potter if to eat nevela, but you can't feed me nevela. It makes no sense. There's no havana. If the Torah doesn't care about me eating nevela, so why would the Torah have a problem with somebody else feeding me nevela? The whole point is, by the chereshoit of a katan, the way we teach him up is not that the Torah doesn't care if he eats nevela. He just can't be nizer because he's not a bardas. So good. Why Lavin and Essen? Good. That's the rate. But the bottom line is, we care about him as a result, where he can't be nizer. Again, lois achilim, it says he should be nizer. But to zogin asada allowed from lois achilim by a shaita, by a summa, alibid Rabbi Yehuda is mamish built in muffin. Why would that be the case? The Torah doesn't have a problem with him eating the nevela, but the Torah has a problem with lois achilim. You worried about the issues of lav, and then you worried about the issues of lav. Elamai, you're not worried. Why? Good. That's shittas Rabbi Yehuda. We don't pass Rabbi Yehuda, but whatever. That is the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. So avivol that shittas Rabbi Yehuda, this is talking lois achilim. If there's no lois achilim, it's posh. It doesn't commit Rabbi Kivega. Rabbi Kivega knew cheresh of a katan. He knew chereshoit. He knew the Noid Yehuda, the svar of the Noid Yehuda. It's poshit. He knew it's a shach. The prima god don't learn up the shach. These are Kivega's marmakoimas always. Kivega knows all this raid. Avad Reb Kivega knew that chereshoit of a katan is considered a bar zvicha. Why? Because of leis achilim. But what ge'art Reb Kivega was that I don't think Summa the Reb Yehuda has a leis achilim. What do you mean? It's not only true for katan. It's also true for cheresh for shaita. Kimavur and Chuvas Noid Yehuda. Kimavur and Chuvas Chasam Sefer. It's really based. Yeah, but Atzad Hashava Shebehen is that the reason they're patim and mitzvahs is because they're not bnei das, and being that it's because they're not bnei das, memela they don't have the lav. Memela they are be'etzim shaykh to mitzvahs. None of us, they don't know how to be nizel. There's a music of leisachilim, but a sumo who can take care of himself. Even just the whole concept of telling a person, be careful, don't feed the sumo. Sumo can take care of himself. Right? It's a daita de nafshe, even when you are meichel him in almost every single case. The whole concept of leisachilim is a little built-in movement when it comes to a summa, and it could be the whole Reb Kiva Eger was coming nach the Noid Yehuda, nach the Shach and the Prima Godim, nach all this raid, and that's what Reb Kiva Eger said. I understand cheresh shoyt of a katan. What I don't understand is why would a summa be different? I was discussing this yesterday with Yedidi, Rabbi Yisrael Chana Lipshitz, and he said, Ulai, maybe you can bring a raya from Tosfos and Bava Kama, Daf Pei Zayin Amud Aleph. Tosfos says a very famous chiddush. He says that even according to Rabbi Yehuda, that holds summas patim and mitzvahs, but he's chayiv in mitzvahs to Rabbanan. Right? That's what Tosfos says. And Tosfos' lashon is like this. V'nira. Da'afagaf the pater Rabbi Yehuda summa mikol mitzvahs. Mikol makom midrabanan chayiv. Da'afagaf the isha miftir of a mitzvah seishes mangarama v'loi mechayiv afil midrabanan. Right? Women are pater from mitzvah seishes mangarama. You don't find that chayiv midrabanan. Mishum sheyesh mitzvahs harbi de mechayiv b'hu. Because they have other mitzvahs that they're chayiv in. Avol summa ipatris lei mikol ha-mitzvahs. Afilu midrabanan imkein havalei k'moy nochri she'einoi noyeg b'toiras Yisrael. If you're not going to tell him that he's chayv mitzvah rabbanan, he's mamash a guy. If there's a lois achilum when it comes to a summa, does it pass to say that he's a nachri she'enoi noyag boy b'toyres Yisrael klal? Either way, it's just a ha'ara. But I think as it relates to pshat and Reb Kivega, I think it's poshut adlamai. Reb Kivega held that the cheresh shoyt of a katan are considered bar zvicha because of the fact that there's a lav of lois achilam. Reb Kivega is being megala to us in this shtickle is that there's no lois achilam when it comes to a summa. What would be the svar? I think the svar is pashit by a cheresh shoyt of a katan, where the reason that pater is because they don't have das. So there it makes sense lahazar agdoilam alaktanim. But the summa hotoch das. The summa could take care of himself, and afilu hachi. So what? Because now you have a gadol that has das and he knows to be careful for you. If I don't have to be careful for myself, why do you have to be careful for me? It's something that's mechusar avana elamai shteita and summa, a different reason. It's summa. There's another knech over here. You have to say a summa is considered a bar zvicha for something a little more fundamental. So Reb Kivega, a raya berura to the shittas that hold that a summa is chayiv and loisase. If a summa is chayiv and loisase, again, basi rak la'oira, just to throw out a little bit of raid. We are going to stop here.